welcome to the Greg Tompsett Football Show. Tonight, we are going to go all around the NFL to talk about a really wacky and crazy day. We're just talking to producer Chris pre-show. Just a wild game of NFL football all over the league this week. And we will go around to each game letting you know what happened and how it affects our Buffalo Bills. And let me tell you, there was a lot of good stuff that happened today around the league. Quick one on Thursday night. We were there with you at halftime of this game, and it ended up just as entertaining as it started. As 14-14 and a half, ended up 30-20 for the Minnesota Vikings. Chris and I were talking pre-show that Nate Tice shared a stat that the Rams offense, when you have Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp all on the field, is one of the top 10 offenses of the past 25 years. And it's over a pretty healthy sample size. I think 383 plays, a half a season's worth of data. So really interesting. Give the loss to the Vikings, keep the Rams alive in the NFC playoff race. And interesting because, I've shared multiple times the Rams are kind of like my second team, my NFC team that I like to root for. So happy to see them stay alive because more Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay is just fun for everybody. The first one of the delightful games in the Buffalo Bills' favor today is we got the double dose of goodness here. We saw the New England Patriots ruin their draft pick a little bit more, and the New York Jets spiral even further into ridiculous, torturous depths. And this game, the Jets had control, but at one point, when you're up on the Patriots 13-7, that feels pretty healthy, and they just could not put anything away. They let the Patriots stay in this game over and over. The Patriots lost Drake May in the first half of this game to a concussion. Obviously, hope that he's healthy. So much of this game, over half of it, was with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. The New York Jets lost to the Jacoby Brissett Patriots. It's just delightful. So fun to see. It did seem like towards the end of the game they were going to go down and win it, and what made it even worse is they went down, got the game-winning touchdown with two. If you score a touchdown with 2:57 to go against a team that's 1-6, okay, fine, you put it away, we're good now. They let up a 12-play, 70-yard touchdown drive that Ramondre Stevenson punched in at the end and converted the 2-point conversion. And with 22 seconds left to be able to take this, just unbelievable amounts of schadenfreude watching Jets fans. Robert Saleh has now watched them go 0-3 since they fired him. Just a delightful turn of events. So everything all in very, very good standing here. Really great to be able to see it, as bad as it is. The Jets are now below the Patriots in the draft order, which is just delightful to see. The next game, again, helping the Buffalo Bills playoff odds just to knock out a talented team that could have gotten themselves back into the race here. The Cincinnati Bengals are now 0-4 at home because they got stomped by the Philadelphia Eagles 37-17. Producer Chris made a great point. They opened this game with a 17-play, 70-yard 10-minute touchdown drive. Oh, absolutely ridiculous start to the day. If you thought the Bills start with their 90-yard touchdown drive where Aaron and I talked about them having 110 yards of offense, the Bengals had the ball for 10 minutes on this opening drive. Looked like they were just going to be able to dominate and move the ball up and down the field. And from that point forward, the Eagles just continue to put more and more on them. And they ended with a ridiculous 20 unanswered to finish this game. I think we ended up with something crazy like 4 Jalen Hurts touchdowns. And Saquon Barkley, ton of production from him like usual, obviously to be expected. Another 100-yard rushing performance, a big bomb to Devontae Smith. And this Bengals team has now dug themselves a nasty hole because 3-5 is going to be difficult to dig yourself back out of. You've got 8 teams at 500 or better. You're now playing a Cleveland Browns team that we'll get to in a moment here that looks a little bit more game that you're going to have to play. The Dolphins coming back, getting healthy. and in the spot that they're in, the Bengals have a lot of teams ahead of them, and they're very talented, but you can't keep dropping games like this. It's going to be really tough. Another game that, obviously we're rooting for the NFC teams here in any of these matchups, but the Jaguars are pretty much done and out of it. The Packers came back, and this game was won by both teams in both directions as the game went, and was a pretty ridiculous matchup back and forth. It seemed like the Jaguars went down and scored the game-winning touchdown to Evan Ingram with a minute 48 to go. Even though the Packers had kind of controlled this, they were up to, 10 points late into the fourth quarter. The Jaguars went down, got a field goal, ended up getting the ball back, and were able to go down, score a touchdown to tie it up. Seemed like it was going to be able to go to overtime. The Packers end up going 64 yards, setting up for a field goal as time expires to win this game. Very entertaining game, but the Packers were able to do this, and a lot of this was with Jordan Love on the sideline. So still waiting for some updates to see where they stand. But having a healthy amount of this game, Malik Willis at the end of the game having to come in to be able to make some big plays was a big part of the timeline as well. One side note, Jacksonville, it was reported here after the game that Christian Kirk broke his collarbone. He was thought to be one of the available receivers here on the trade market. So now a guy coming off of that market, obviously with a broken collarbone, really tough loss for the Jaguars there, and a possible asset to move. In one of the most ridiculous games all day, the Detroit Lions won this game 52-14, sneakily with maybe the best special teams performance I can remember in a long time, because as you'll see here, Jared Goff was 12 of 15 for 85 yards. An NFL team scored 52 points with 85 passing yards. I don't know if the team stats track special teams yardage, return yardage. I don't think they do here. I'll have to look and see if there's a good spot to be able to find it here. Here we go. So we had a 72-yard kick return, 5 punt returns for 190 yards, including a kick return to a punt return touchdown. Khalif Raymond almost had 2 punt return touchdowns, but 262 special teams return yards. Absolutely bonkers special teams performance by the Detroit Lions. And then a great rushing performance as well. They ran the ball 24 times for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. But just crazy to see a game where they passed for 4 touchdowns, but had a net 61 passing yards. Just a crazy stat line to be able to see a 52-point scoring output with 61 net passing yards. I have to imagine that's the closest ratio of points to net passing yards in NFL history. Just absolutely bananas to be able to see that kind of matchup. And obviously the Titans get thrashed in back-to-back weeks after taking a thumping to the Bills. So with the 30 unanswered from the Bill, 35 unanswered from the Bills, and then 52 here, you're talking like 87-14 over the last 6 quarters. Really rough game. A fun NFC matchup that didn't affect the Bills all that much, but was entertaining. The Atlanta Falcons held on for a 31-26 game. This is a game that should not have been that close. They were up 31-17. They let the Bucs get back into this game. There's a late safety, and then a second K-Dot touchdown. He actually had 2 on the day here, and a chance at an onside kick late to be able to get themselves back in this game, but could not finish the deal. This is without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, so a really tough matchup to be able to try to hang in there. But Baker Mayfield threw the ball 50 times, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, got themselves to hang around in this game. Had a Kyle Pitts touchdown and another one that got called back by penalty. So he ended up having 2. He could have had 3 on the day, but a nice Kyle Pitts outing. Darnell Mooney had a really nice game, and the Atlanta Falcons keep chugging away in the NFC South, trying to get themselves a division title for this year. In another game that was delicious for the Buffalo Bills, the Arizona Cardinals kicked a game-winning walk-off field goal by backup kicker Chad Ryland. The Cardinals' normal kicker, Matt Prater, is on IR, and the Miami Dolphins had tons of opportunities to be able to hold on to this game. They scored the first 10 points. They were up 13-7. They were up 20-10. They had multiple opportunities to be able to control this game, and Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, James Conner continue to bring them further and further back into this game, giving themselves a chance to dig out of it bit by bit. When the Dolphins scored to go up 27-18, I really thought that was going to seal it and was going to be able to put it away, and that, well, we had a shot, but it just wasn't going to work. And the Cardinals just kept fighting and fighting, got themselves back into this game, and were able to set up a really tough final drive. That final drive, as time expired, was 13 plays, 73 yards in 5 minutes. So they got the ball back with 5 minutes and 1 second and never gave the ball back to the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense could not get them off the field. The Dolphins dropped to 2-5. Tua Tagovailoa was back and healthy in this game. He was 28-38. He was effective. The offense scored 27 points. Just this Dolphins defense could not get off the field. Sneaky one, I mentioned it. Obviously, they don't love trading in the division, but the fact that the Bills are about to play the Dolphins and then they won't play them again this year, keeping Calais Campbell is a guy I know that people talk about trade targets that you don't like to trade in division. That's for players that the team's worried about seeing year in, year out going forward. That's a reason the Dolphins wouldn't want to trade the Bills' Javon Holland. It's not a reason they wouldn't want to trade Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell has been a Dolphin for like 8 months and is a free agent next year, or likely going to retire next year. That's a guy that if they could get themselves a little bit of a draft asset, I'd love to have that kind of interior pressure, and use Calais Campbell like a Von Miller on 30% snap share, but all on, third and long, where we just want somebody to come in and collapse the pocket and get after the quarterback and get his big hands up there. I'd give them a draft pick for Calais Campbell if we have an opportunity to do that. In the game that maybe helped the Bills the most today, and that's saying a lot when you're talking about matchups like the Bengals losing, the Dolphins losing, the Jets losing, the Cleveland Browns. I talked about this on Thursday night. I was just looking forward for my friends and family to have entertaining football to watch. I didn't expect them to actually upset the Baltimore Ravens. In Jameis Winston's first start as a Cleveland Brown, he comes in chucking the ball all over the field, sometimes to the Ravens, sometimes to the Browns, but the Ravens dropped at least 3 interceptions that I saw. Gave themselves a chance. They came in, including a 38-yard touchdown bomb to score with 59 seconds left in this game, and then the defense came up and got a stand. The Cleveland Browns upset the Baltimore Ravens 29-24. The Ravens, once again, when the Ravens have their fastball and they are playing their A game, I think they're the best team in the league. No exceptions. I think their A game probably beats everybody else's A game. The challenge is they don't always bring their A game. And now they're 5-3. They have, obviously nothing wrong with losing to the defending Super Bowl back-to-back champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, but they now have losses to the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cleveland Browns in games that just were not, the kind of game that we've come to expect from this Ravens team. They won the turnover battle and lost this game. Just unbelievable to be able to give up 400 yards to the Cleveland Browns and Jameis Winston. They get every bit of this they deserve. One of the few games that didn't go the Bills' way was the Houston Texans and Indianapolis Colts. The Texans found a way to be able to win this. Anthony Richardson was 10 of 32, might be a new low in completion percentage for our man AR-15. They had a shot to be able to be in this game. They came back. Jonathan Taylor scored with 8 minutes left, and they had multiple chances to get the Texans off the field at the end of the game. I believe they had 2 more possessions. They even got a fumble and got the ball back. That one on the fumble, they got the ball as the Texans were driving. It actually looked like it was going to be a I think they had it initially as a Dingbo had a 82-yard touchdown return that would have obviously made it 27-23. They called it back, said he was down by contact, and the Colts turn around, gained negative 13 yards on their drive with a sack, and end up having to punt it back to the Texans. So multiple opportunities. They come back again, had a chance to be able to win it, end up doing the pitchy woo woo all over the field towards the end and give it back. So the Colts can't upset the Texans again. The Houston didn't look fantastic in this game. Still a little bit there, but they're a very talented team. We saw Stephon Diggs with a non-contact injury. He did walk off, so I haven't heard anything there. But usually, if you're able to walk off, it's maybe not quite as severe, but did look a little bit scary when it first happened. So waiting on reports of what Stephon Diggs' knee injury will be. Another game that maybe technically didn't go the Bills' way here. The Saints got pretty well handled and throttled by the Los Angeles Chargers. Wasn't a pretty game. Um, they kind of went back and forth early. It was you had some baseball scores here: 2-0, 2-3, 2-9, 5-9. 5-9 is just a delightful football score. That is something you do not see all that often. Our halftime score here was 9-5. But the Chargers end up pulling away in the second half, end up, winning the second half 17-3 and took control here. This Saints team obviously is not the same without Derek Carr. Spencer Rattler, I believe they had Chad Haney, Jake Hanner come in for this game. I was going to call him Chad Henney, I think, and come in and mop up duty in this game as well. So, not a fantastic game by the Chargers, but still, took control, did what they needed to do to be able to get a W here. Now sitting at 4-3, that's a team that the Bengals have now let take a game and a half lead on them in this game. Besides even a team like the Colts on the outside looking in, but ahead of the Bengals. So just a team that's going to be a pain to play and is continue to keep themselves hanging around in these games. I'm going to save one game for the end here. The Broncos took care of the Panthers. This game was never in question. The Panthers did go down and score to open this game, and then the Broncos rattled off the next 4 touchdown drives. We got a garbage time score at the end of the game. The Broncos, another team that when we talk about what the Bengals have allowed teams to do, this now a 2-game lead here with the Broncos team that's playing confident, that's playing, with a good solid defense, a good run game, a rookie quarterback that, they're Sean Payton has playing within himself and making smart decisions and able to kind of keep himself moving forward here. So we'll see where the Broncos go, but they look like one of those teams that could surprise people to end up being in the playoffs here. The final game that didn't go the Bills' way, the Raiders gave the Chiefs everything they could handle in this game. There were multiple opportunities here to be able to hang around. Some more, questionable coaching decisions here. And I just, it's so hard to know. There's multiple times where the Raiders could have gone for it and took short field goals or didn't push to go for it. And just when you're an underdog playing against the Chiefs, you got to be more aggressive than that to be able to take those opportunities and try to, do something more aggressive with it. So, I certainly want to see, more from that team, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They continue to find a way to win and to be able to remain 7-0 despite not playing their best football, which is just what we've come to be used to. We had it for 20 years with the Patriots, continuing to think that this would finally be the time that they were going to, get beaten, and kept finding a way to win in ugly, ugly games. The final one was a ridiculous game. This wasn't actually that great of a game. Commanders Bears was not an incredibly good game. You could see went back and forth. The Commanders were up 12-0 late. They let the Bears get back into it. DeAndre Swift had a really nice run up the sideline that got them back into this game. And then it looked like they were going to be able to go down. Caleb Williams, who did not have a good game by any measure, the stat line ended up 10-24 for 131. It was actually worse than that. He was way below 50% with like 38 passing yards pretty late into this game. So it looks a little bit better because of the final drive. But he went down the field, put together, a touchdown drive with 25 seconds to go. Rashawn Johnson punched it in for the touchdown. Got to feel pretty good going home to the DMV area and getting a win against Jaden Daniels, even in a game where Daniels looked better than he did, and feeling really good about it. And just an insane ending. The Commanders get in position to be able to take a Hail Mary. They get a pass to Ertz with a timeout and then a pass out of bounds to Terry McLaurin. They get set up at the 48-yard line, 52 yards to go in. Jaden Daniels spins around, runs around. I think he was back behind the line of scrimmage for 11 seconds before he let the ball go. And then the way that he had to scramble around like that, he was back just past the 30. He probably let the ball go from like the 35-yard line, which meant he only got the ball to about the like 10 or 5-yard line, which is still a nice pass, but not all the way into the end zone. All the players go down, jump for it, and tip the ball up into the air. Noah Brown's waiting for it in the end zone and catches it. After the game, we see that during the play, Bears defensive back Tyreek Stevenson was talking trash to Commanders fans. And when I say talking trash to Commanders fans, I mean while he was on the field of play, facing the fans with his back to the game going on. They had snapped the ball and had been running the play for about 2 seconds before he turned around and realized that, hey, receivers are running towards me. He then is, it looks like, responsible for Noah Brown. It's hard to tell for sure in a format like that, but he for sure is the one that runs over. And the hand that tips the ball up into the air is Tyreek Stevenson, that the ball tips up into the air and then is caught by Noah Brown. So in the most amazing, boiled down personification of F around and find out, we see Tyreek Stevenson talking trash to the fans and then tipping the game-winning Hail Mary to Noah Brown within just a few seconds. It's unbelievable. Make sure you go watch for it. I actually shared a bunch of the videos on my feed. It was just delicious to be able to see. So go and enjoy that along with me. Again, as we check out everything that's going on here, I'm going to switch it over to this one. Because of the Ravens loss, because of some of the other pieces floating around, the Bills now see themselves as the 3rd seed. Coming up with a big time game against the Chiefs. Everything is still in play. We would just need one other loss to the Chiefs for that game to matter. For the division, the Bills obviously are now set up with a very, very healthy 3.5 game lead on everybody in the division, with a game next week coming against the Dolphins to be able to really firm that up. But just looking very, very healthy for their standings. They'll be getting some players back as we go. But make sure you check out everything else that we have going on. If you want to hear more of our final thoughts on the Bills Seahawks game, go make sure to check out Aaron Quinn and I talking about all the fun that we had here today. Later on this week, on Wednesday night, we'll be having Marcel Louis-Jacques on with us to be able to break down Bills Dolphins for this next week. If you're in here watching or listening, help me out. Press that like button. It'll go a long ways to be able to help here. We'll be checking out more trade targets. Check out on my feed. I have my Goldilocks list for defensive tackles that I've been looking at, safeties that I've been looking at. I might even do one for linebackers. We'll see. I don't think it's out of the question that we see a couple other little tweaks from Brandon Beane around the roster. Not big superstar moves, maybe a couple other little sprinkles here or there. But make sure you check that out. I appreciate all you guys coming in here and hanging out with us. But on behalf of fantastic producer Chris Seth, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Greg Tompsett Football Show, and we are out.